Good afternoon. Excuse me. It's meteorologist Michael Fecca. Welcome back to the 2:30 afternoon weather update. We do this every day here, Monday through Sunday. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining from either place, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. Hopefully, I'll be able to go through them all as I go through the forecast. But if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. But let's get started here with a look at that alert we have in effect for tonight. And not much has changed at all since yesterday. We're still looking at a fairly isolated risk for some severe storms this evening, and if we do see some severe storms form, the likely time frame here would be anywhere between 5 p.m. and 11 o'clock this evening from north to south as that cold front kind of sags in. And our primary hazards would be for damaging wind gusts and even some larger hail, again, if those storms are able to break through that cap and develop. Taking a look at that storm risk, again, not much different from what we looked at yesterday. In fact, some areas across far portions of western Kentucky, like Hopkins, Muhlenberg, and the southern half of Ohio County, have kind of been placed in just that general thunder risk. Here across much of the metro area here at Evansville, Anderson, down towards Owensboro, and even out towards Tell City, we're all sitting at that level 1 risk. The better chances for maybe a severe storm still exist farther off to the north, primarily along and north of I-64 there, and that includes areas like Princeton and Jasper. But looking at the exact contours here, it doesn't really matter. The ingredients do exist for some severe storms, but there is that caveat of the cap. So a lot of the models still having some issues with that cap, not really developing much in the way of thunderstorms here, but you'll notice that they do start to develop generally after 5 o'clock this evening and continue from north to south through this evening, and they'll be weakening as they do so. So again, a fairly isolated chance for severe storms here. We're not looking at a widespread severe weather threat. But I do want to break down the science behind the cap. Again, we've been doing this over the last couple of days just so that you guys get a little bit more of the science behind the forecast here. Essentially what the cap is just a layer of warm air aloft that's going to be above the potential for thunderstorms. So we have this very, very warm and moist air mass here closer to the surface. Temperatures are in the 80s, dew points are in the 60s, so that makes these parcels of air very, very buoyant. So they begin to rise, and as long as the air surrounding that parcel of air is cooler, it will continue to rise. But if it reaches an area where there is warmer air surrounding it, it no longer is able to rise, and it kind of flattens out and doesn't really get a chance to develop into anything more. However, if there is a weak spot in the cap, or if the thunderstorm or the parcel of air is kind of strong enough with its updraft to kind of bust through the cap, then you could see some development of showers and thunderstorms, and that's when we would see that potential for some severe storms. And if we do see them form, our primary hazards are still going to be that potential for some damaging wind gusts and even some large hail. You notice the far northern fringes of the tri-state there highlighted in those hatch marks for hail. So that means potentially anywhere between 1 and 1.5 inch diameter hail could be possible if those storms are able to form. And I just want to take a look at some of those hail sizes for you just for comparison. Not a lot of people really understand exactly how big that is or how small that is. And generally between 1 inch to 1.5 inches, that puts you anywhere between quarter and ping pong ball sized hail there, which is kind of just in that severe marker. So looking at what we're tracking here, again, a few storms possible headed into this evening, and then behind that front, it's going to be a lot cooler out there. So much cooler to start out the work week, and then temperatures continue to rise and then fall again by the middle and end of next week. So this roller coaster ride of summer-like temperatures, then back to reality, and then summer-like temperatures again, and then back to reality continues at least through the next 7 days. So here's a look at the current radar across the U.S. That frontal boundary that's expected to bring us that chance for a few storms still off to our north. So it's allowed us to warm up nicely across the tri-state. Many of us have topped out now into the mid to upper 80s. Taking a look at those temperatures, 87 out towards Madisonville and even up towards Fairfield. 84 there in Huntingburg, sitting right at around 86 here in the Evansville area. And that has already smashed the previous record set for today, which was 80 back in 1988. Now looking at the next 12 hours, we'll see a gradual increase in that cloud cover, becoming partly to mostly cloudy headed into this evening. And then as that front moves through, that's where we'll see that chance for a few storms and then some lingering showers there through around 11 o'clock and into midnight before we dry out overnight, and cloud cover seems to stick around before clearing out into tomorrow morning. So we'll start off with some sunshine through much of the day on Monday before some more clouds creep in here tomorrow evening. So we'll go with partly cloudy skies, temperatures topping out right at around average, 56 degrees for our highs. And then looking at the temperature trend here, you'll notice the roller coaster I'm talking about, will be right around average Monday, even into Tuesday, slightly above there, topping out at around 62 degrees. And then we'll continue to climb up through the 70s on Wednesday, and then possibly flirting with another record there by the time we get into Thursday, topping out in the low, maybe even mid 80s in a few spots. And then another cold front slides in here late Thursday night and into Friday morning. That'll cool us back down into the 50s, along with the chance for some more showers and storms. And then we'll start to dry out headed into next weekend, with temperatures climbing up through the 50s and 60s once again. So the end of March, definitely still a roller coaster ride for many of us here in terms of those temperatures. I'm going to take a moment just to take a look at any comments or questions. If I can answer anything for you, I'd be happy to. So, looks like I'm not seeing too much. Ty, thanking us for the information. You are very welcome, and I'm happy to go over anything else for you at the very end of this stream, but I am just going to continue. Looks like we do have another question from Zach. He's asking if it's too early to determine if there will be severe storms on the first week of April. Yes, it is too early, especially for, kind of a lockdown severe weather threat. Of course, as we get into the month of April, you can kind of pick up on patterns, but in terms of a concrete severe weather threat, yeah, that's a little bit too early to determine or nail anything down. But it is April in the tri-state, so severe weather threats emerge nearly weekly at this point in the year. So don't be too surprised if you start to see more posts like that across social media. It's very common for us to see that here in the spring. So nothing to really get freaked out about just yet, but taking a look at some more precipitation chances. Again, once we get through tonight, we'll be dry through the first half of the work week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday don't have a lot of shower chances there. Our next best chance for showers will arrive with that next frontal passage, mainly late Thursday night and throughout the day on Friday. So here's a look at some of the models. We could see a few sprinkles there Thursday morning, but that will clear out and dry out through the afternoon, seeing a return of that sunshine through much of the day on Thursday ahead of that front. And then through the overnight hours, this front will gradually slip its way southward, bringing along with it the chance for a few showers and maybe even some thunderstorms. Now, this model continues to point out the potential for maybe even a few flakes mixed in on the backside of this front. I'm not totally buying that just yet, but I can't completely rule it out. If we do see some flakes on the backside of it, it would not lead to any impacts whatsoever. The grounds are so warm, there would be no accumulations to worry about. But it does show you just how strong that front will be in terms of dropping our temperatures. We may see temps dropping down into the lower 30s Friday night before kind of warming back up through the weekend there as that high pressure system slips off to our east. We'll see returns from the south there through Sunday. So then we'll pop right back up above average again. So very up and down through the next week. So let me go ahead and take a look at some of the comments again. People asking about different locations. So let me go ahead and pull up that future radar again. All right. So here's a look at the future radar here. So make sure you know where you live on a map. Of course, we'll have that front sliding in here around 5, 6 o'clock tonight, but we may not start to see any of those showers or storms develop until just behind that front. So we'll see some more storms possible there even through 9, 10 o'clock, but they do really start to weaken and kind of squander out here as they filter in from the north. So it doesn't even really look like a lot of those storms will make it past the Ohio River, even if they do form. Remember, we have that cap in place, so it's only possible we see severe storms if they bust through the cap, and that is a big if. But if they do, they would be capable of producing some damaging wind gusts or even some hail. So let me pull up those severe risks once again. So we're mainly at risk for some wind and hail here. You'll notice those black hatch marks along the very far northern fringes of the viewing area there. That's where we could see maybe the potential for 1 to 1.5 inch in diameter hail, and that would be comparable to around a quarter or even up to ping pong ball sized hail, and then typical damaging wind gust threat there between 60 and up to 70 miles per hour possible. Not too concerned with flooding, and we're not too concerned with that tornado risk either. It looks like the better chances for tornadoes exist farther off to the north, but can never completely rule it out, but definitely eyeing up more of that wind and hail potential. So hopefully that answers everything. All right. That is all the questions that I'm seeing. So I'm going to skip on down to the 7-day here. I'm not going to put you through the rest of the stream again. But at least you can get out there and enjoy the afternoon for the next couple of hours. We're not looking at anything crazy moving in here until after 5 or 6 o'clock tonight. So enjoy that sunshine and that warmth, because as we get into tomorrow, it will cool back down. Temperatures only top out in the mid-50s before we climb back up through the 60s and 70s there Tuesday and Wednesday. And then potentially another record heat day there on Thursday, topping out in the low to maybe even mid-80s before another front comes in late Thursday night into Friday. That'll bring in another round of some showers and storms, and then even some potential for a few flakes mixing in on the backside of that front if that moisture is still lingering around while those temperatures cool off. And again, not expecting any impacts from those flakes if we do see them, and then temperatures will start to rebound again headed into next weekend. All right. Carol says, spring is here. Can we get out the long furniture for spring, or will we still get any snow before May? I don't think we could see any more accumulating snowfall. We may still see a few flurries on the backside of some of these fronts, especially depending on how strong they are, like we may see there on Friday. But in terms of accumulating snowfall, I'm pretty sure we're done at this point. Any snow that does fall will immediately melt on contact. I mean, temperatures are very much above freezing. Even overnight lows haven't dropped down below freezing in a long time. So not too worried about any accumulation. I'd say if you want to put out your lawn furniture, you can go right ahead and do that. All right, so those are all the questions that I'm seeing. So I'm going to hop off the live stream and I'll send you guys on your way. Remember, just pay attention to the forecast tonight. We're not expecting anything widespread, but if we do see some of those storms to develop, there could be that damaging wind and hail threat. So make sure you have your alerts turned on and that sound on in case you are placed under a warning. And of course, I'll be here this evening as well, so I'll pop on air and kind of walk you through any of those warnings that are in place if they do happen. So enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.